If you're gonna clean, just be the best cleaner. If you're gonna paint, be the best painter. If you're gonna be a maintenance technician, okay, learn, but be the best maintenance technician. We are the side of the business that actually can move the needle. You can actually hit your NOI or you can miss your NOI if you don't manage maintenance correctly. Right? We have to get outside of the box on property management as well. Like things are changing. We cannot keep managing properties the same way we used to manage them 40, 50, 60 years ago. We have to change. The budget is just made by regionals, property managers, and up, right? You don't get the boots on the ground. The actual person using those outlets, the actual person replacing those garbage disposal, knowing what the status of the appliances are, you don't get their input, you don't get their insight. So that budget turns into being like numbers that most of the time.
Super excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Adrian. Yes, no, actually, thank you, for the opportunity.
Wanna give a shout out to our sponsors from Appwork and KAIROS Water for making this broadcast possible first. We couldn't have done it without them. I want to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your professional, personal background. Let's start with your career in United States before property management.
Before property management, okay. So before property management, I have a business administration degree, master in marketing and sales from Spain. I used to work for government for my country. I used to work in sales as well with my dad in their business. I used to lead a group of people, that was performing a couple of fighting different laws with things that are called DACA for immigration. People from Honduras. I'm originally from Honduras, so I used to do all those type of government things, paperwork, policies. Back and forth with lobbyists. So that's what I used to do before property management.
So from there to property management, walk me through the journey. I know there's a great story out there.
Yeah, so my country, still actually, facing tough times. We had a military coup that pushed me, outside of the country, unfortunately. And I happened to be in the United States, working for the current people that was in the power, and then I unfortunately couldn't return. So it was a kind of like a problem that I was facing in that moment. So what I did, was I started reaching out to some people that was in the area, Washington D.C. area, that I needed to work. I've been working from a very young age with my dad, and he showed me a lot of different skills and things like that. So I was not afraid to perform any other job outside of what I studied, but it was kind of complicated. It's like I knew the language, so I knew how to speak English, but I didn't know anything else outside of what I was doing. And construction and property management and all those type of things are very different than construction and property management in Honduras. So I reach out to a couple friends around in the area. They hire me, so I started putting, they were painters, so I started putting masking tape, cleaning, picking up all the trash, every time that they put the plastic, so making sure nothing gets painted. Then I was like the labor for that. I was helping them out. So it's basically that was my very first encounter with any type of construction to a property management in the early 2009.
And where to from there?
The property management that was, they were actually, those vendors were actually performing the work. They liked the job that the crew was doing. And from that crew, I was the only one that actually speak English. So it was very quickly from me without the knowledge, right? Because it was people that were doing the work better than me. but I was the one communicating to the client, and they were the one communicating to me. So I become like the leader of that crew. We start doing like a lot of apartment turnovers, painting them, plaster, drywall. That company, offered me a position. They had a position open in their staff. So I became, a maintenance technician one. It was kind of like more as a porter, that's what like they had it open. So I started working for them, and there was always one thing that was teach from my family, parents. And like, if you're gonna do something, just be the best on that. If you're gonna clean, just be the best cleaner. If you're gonna paint, be the best painter. If you're gonna be a maintenance technician, okay, learn, but be the best maintenance technician that you can. I always try to apply that on my life as a philosophy of life, right? I wanted it to be the best. I was at the moment was not enjoying it. I was like kind of like that teach me a lot of humble as well. Like I used to do other things related with other different things of my career, and then I go back to this where I was like actually talking with the people that used to go to these offices that I was actually helping them. So yeah, from there I start like going up, maintenance technician two, getting certifications, and maintenance supervisor, regional maintenance supervisor, director of facilities, and now vice president.
How long did it take you from like maintenance one, from the entry level position to becoming a vice president?
Probably 13, 14 years. Yeah, something like that.
14 years?
Yeah.
Not. What were the biggest challenges you would say when you actually switch from like the government job to construction, becoming a helper, like being the person that's actually the most entry level, the lowest on the food chain in that org chart?
So, to be honest, one of the well, it's completely different industry, right? But one of the challenges that I would face, was organization. We were not too organized, on the property what I got in. Not clear instructions of what things to do, right? And it was not a clear manual of like, okay, you are a porter and these are your responsibilities and this is what you're supposed to do, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z. It was like more like everybody like running to different places and trying to stop a lot of different fires during the day, and how property management is like. It's a lot of things going on at the same time, so it was a little bit of that. So that kind of like threw me off for a couple of months. Actually, that was a big challenge for me.
How did you overcome?
I talk. I stopped my supervisor one day and I told him what I was feeling, and that I wanted it to be a resource for him, that I wanted to be, it's me talking as a porter, right, to my main super, right? It's like, I know my job is to pick up trash in the morning. I know my job is to, go and clean here, clean there, but I need just a little more structure. I was like, I don't know, like put a schedule for me, or if you want, I can create a schedule and then you approve it. So we had like a very good conversation. I ended up like, doing the schedule. I wanted like from this time to this time I was doing this thing. So I wanted the things like more organized, and I know it might sound crazy, but it was very helpful for me. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to stop. I decided to talk to my main supervisor, and that's how I overcome that one. So I think that was very helpful for me, and still is. Like if I feel I'm not heading the right direction, I stop, regroup, think, and then ask for feedback. Right, like a lot of feedback to keep going on my path.
When you grew up in Honduras, have you ever imagined yourself running like facilities for a large management companies in the United States?
Never. No, that definitely was not something that I ever imagined. And to be very honest, like I didn't even imagine working in property management. I didn't even know what property management was. So no, I didn't imagine. I I know that I always wanted it to grow. I was more focused on my career at that time. I knew that I had a couple of skills that I wanted it to put in, I wanted it to use them. And I was happy, like the way I used to, I think, and I was trying to have like a lot of like critical thinking and, give solutions for certain areas, but I never knew that I will apply all of those things in property management. So no, I never imagined.
How does it feel like right now, looking back, 13, 14 years ago?
Feel proud myself, but at the same time, I don't stop learning, and I feel as well very grateful because the only reason why I'm able, to be where I am today and the position that I have is because I had a lot of very good mentors and very good bosses as well. It was like leaders that show me they stop, they had the time to show me things, they had the time to teach me, correct me, give me feedback. A lot of people that I can mention that they teach me so many things on property management that I'm just very grateful. I without them I will never ever work, like even get it to a main supervisor position. Like they were like, it's those people that as I imagine you have as well. Like, they stop, they teach you things, and some moments you're like, oh my god, why are you trying to be so micromanaged? Why are you trying to teach me that? And you feel sometimes that way, but it's because they see something on you that you still don't see it in yourself, and that's why like I was very grateful for them.
Who would you say are the top people when you're thinking about your life and your career that actually made the most positive impact in your life and in your career?
In my life, personal life, and the way I live it, it's definitely my dad. Like I think it's like the person that teach me that you don't give 100%. He always used to tell me, you get paid to give 100%. You have to give 150, 180, 200% all the time. So he teach me from a very, very young age. You always needed to give more in order to, to not only to not please your bosses, but to understand what the mission in what you're doing is, so you can actually live that way and apply it at work, right? So personally, it will be my dad, and then professionally, you know, I can mention you, for example, I used to have a director of facilities. His name is Don Evans, tremendous guy that teach me so many things. I can mention you as well. Another guy, his name is Neil Hudson. Another very good mentor as well. Johnny Wilcox, from Wind Companies as well. She's a person, like she nests her teams and she empowered the teams, to do stuff. And she knows and understand that you're going to make mistakes, but she's always going to be there for you, regardless. And then you're going to learn, you're going to grow, and give you a lot of opportunity, to go and learn all of those things and experiences that another organizations or bosses don't allow you to, because they want you to be like just in that small circle. She was somebody that teach me a lot of stuff. But there's another guy as well. He was like my very first property manager, Han Kim as well. It's another guy, one of the best property managers I remember. He was like very organized, very on. He was the very first on the site, and he was a property manager. He was always like at 7:20 a.m. he was in the office, and the office opens until 9, and the office closed at 5:30, and he would leave at 7 8 p.m. All the time. And I actually wanted it sometimes to beat his record. I wanted to be there at 7, and you will find him there already. It was like impressive. Yeah.
You mentioned that you basically didn't even know that was such a thing as property management industry. So you just kind of like came into the industry by, I'll say, by accident. I talked to a lot of industry professionals, and some of them, extremely accomplished, just like you. And probably like 98, 99% of the stories are going the same way. Right? I just fell into the industry. It wasn't like a conscientious decision. So it seems like, this is a pattern for the overwhelming majority of us. My story is the same, is the same way. I didn't, really pursue this as a career because I just heard that maintenance or property management is a great industry. It just happened to be that way. So how do we as an industry make this more appealing and then get a word out to people that are outside of the industry to actually making them aware that this is a great place to start a career or like build your career in, versus just like accidentally that we being that proverbial accidental career.
That's a great analogy as well. Like, this is the way I think, right? I think it's events, for example, where we met, right? Like those type of events or networking are the things that actually make us just be on the same circle all the time. Because if you notice, when all of these networking events and all of these events happen, they're all for property management people, right? We don't open them. We're kind of like the industry, it's closed. It's kind of like, well, you go to events on NAA, and yes, so for sure, right, networking is great with your peers that work on property management, but I think we need to do things like, let's open it, like let's open it to the world, right? Let's open it to the rest of the other industries. Like, I want to, like, I'll for you an example. One of the biggest things, we have right now, it's like you can't not find maintenance technicians, right? It's very hard. Like, very, very, very hard. So we need to start thinking outside of the box, right? You can only keep recruiting, okay, people with experience of property management. Well, they're only certain amount, and they're probably already working from other property management. One means, you either take them out, and then that person's going to have a position open, and then it turns into, okay, how much you pay me versus how much you pay me, and then it's just like a battle with money, right? There's more industry. There's plumbers out there. There's HVAC technicians. There are restoration technicians, which those ones I like them because they have experience with a lot of different trade. They can put doors, they can demolish for sure, they can cut drywall, they can put drywall. So I think some of the things that we need to open on property management is like, we need to explore outside, not only when we hire, but when we networking, right? Let's go to events where real estate agents are. They're kind of part of our world as well. They have properties, they might be selling them, they may be selling houses, but they have kind of like the same brand, right? So let's open the property management industry for more networking outside of the already known, events that we have, like that. And I tell you, I like those ones. Like, I like to go to developers networkings. You learn so much. I like to go to, non-profit organizations that they have housing. You don't see a lot of like property management people going there. You only see a lot of developers going there, architect firms, engineering firms, but you don't see the property management industry going to visit them and learn from them, because they might think the business is already given to somebody else. Well, it's not about the business, about the experience and how do you network on to what you do and what property management has to offer.
And now a word from Dean Fungawing, founder and CEO, KAIROS.
We take that personal touch of showing up to the property, meeting with the building engineers, meeting with the site maintenance teams, and saying, you tell us where you see the most problems. We're not going to assume that we know where your particular problems are, right? And when they start telling us, like, dishwashers aren't a problem, but water heaters are a big problem, right? Well, last year we had a fire suppression system that froze and it leaked down into 8 apartments, caused $300,000 worth of damage, right? Those conversations are invaluable because now I've got a historical marker where I have a quantitative problem. I have now not just said, oh, water is a problem, or fire is a problem, or freeze is a problem. I've now told you how much that problem cost me last year. And I say, okay, if this year I can prevent a pipe freeze, if this year I can prevent another water heater from destroying and getting out of control, I can't stop the water heater from leaking, but I can tell you about it early enough. Because the name of the game with water is get to it as fast as possible.
When you were a technician and you first got promoted to a service manager job, I'm sure that you looked up to your service manager at the time, and you had some preconceived ideas that this is how he does certain things. And what are some things that you learned that they weren't so? They were like different than you thought when you actually started doing the job. That
Yeah.
they were different than you thought they're going to be.
Oh, it's so many. I will start with for example, drywall, right? Drywall work in Honduras. You don't use drywall majority of the time in the houses because of the weather, right? Because of the different climate issues that you have. You always build with brick, so it's hard for you. You need like special tools in order to open a hole, or because you want to add an outlet, right? So it's a whole process. You need to open wall, you need to run wire, all those type of things. And I remember, I think it was like he was like adding one outlet or replacing an outlet. I can't remember exactly. And when I saw that he cut it with a knife, like with a little the wall, I was like, how? Like how do you actually do that? Imagine, like, I didn't know anything about it. Second, I have another thing as well. It's like garbage disposals. Something gets clogged on a garbage disposal. I was like, oh, you need to take the entire thing off, all the piping, all everything, right? And then I saw he take out a small little Allen key out of his pocket. He put it on the bottom of the garbage disposal, and then he turned it, and then he unclogged it. And I was like, oh my god, like that was insane. So those little things that I didn't know at the time how things work. So they were like, for me, they were different, right, from what I was expecting. I was expecting more like construction, like it was going to be very hard, but it was like more of like this. Let's call it tricks, but it was like more knowledge that you just have to know in order to do things smarter.
Or when it comes to management, like being a manager, what were some things that you had I'll say you were misled. You thought totally different than they actually were.
Signed work orders. So the way we were at the very early beginnings, like this company was not using a software for work orders. It was just like paper, right? And they were printing them out from the key machine that we had. That key machine will print them out, and that was the why, that was how you get the tickets. So it was like it was a disaster. It was work orders that you already finished, and then you go back, and then when you knock at the door, the manager, I'm sorry, the resident will be like, oh, it's another guy just came like 2 hours ago. It's all fixed, it's all done. So that, I think was like one of the biggest thing, that technology was not where we are today, right? With so many tools that we have now in the industry, it was not like that. So it was like, I would say, like, in that way, the management was different.
As far as leadership lessons, tell me about a leadership lesson that you've learned the hard way, being on a job that you encounter, and you learn something the hard way as a leader.
Hmm. Uh, Look, the why, like, and we just on the company at Horning right now, we just finished a conference, and then we talk a lot about like the why behind what we do, and the behind the reasons what we do. But early in my career, spearheaded a lot of major overhaul maintenance protocols, across those several properties, to try to improve efficiency and cut costs, right? So I was always focused on the big picture. Was always like streamlining operations and trying to meet budget, and trying to lay out a plan to assign tasks. And I was expecting everybody to execute, right? But what I didn't take the time, enough time, was to explain how these changes will benefit the residents, will reduce the downtime, or make their job easier in the long run, right? So the result, I always have pushback, confusion, slower progress than I hope. So a lot of technicians felt micromanaged. Others thought that the changes were just extra work. it hit me. It hit me because I was prioritizing results over what the buy-in was, right? So I had to backtrack, hold one-on-one meetings, get the input from the team, rebuild the trust, clarify the purpose. And I was trying to experience you know my style with more profound, right? Like trying to lead them with more collaboration. Like, look, like I'm rolling out this new plan because we're upgrading the HVAC machines because this is going to be better for us. We're going to have more satisfaction, more support. The residents going to be happier. So I start explaining them the why behind the decisions that I was trying to make.
Centralization. It's a
Huh.
big conversation topic in today's
Yeah.
multifamily world. What are your thoughts on centralization?
So look, I am one of those persons in the industry that I like centralization. Why? Because I feel that maintenance, it's been for many years, it's been relegated outside of the big picture, and we are the side of the business that actually can move the needle. You can actually hit your NOI or you can miss your NOI if you don't manage maintenance correctly, right? But we were for many years not involved in a lot of crucial decisions. I remember a lot of budgets, and I hope this time a lot of property management are not doing this, but if they are, I will tell them not to. They don't use the experience for maintenance supervisors to participate in budgets, right? Like the budget is just made by regionals, property managers, and up, right? You don't get the boots on the ground, the actual person using those outlets, the actual person replacing those garbage disposal, knowing what the status of the appliances are. You don't get their input, you don't get their insight. So that budget turns into being like numbers that most of the time, if you hit them, you hit them to the cost of the operations of the site, and then you have like residents like with not correct equipment, or you have a ticking bomb about to explode on your site, right? Because we're not using it. So the reason why I say this is because on the centralization side, maintenance, it's at the same level, right? Maintenance actually manage the budget from maintenance. They help creating it. They help putting the buy in, and then the person ordering those parts, the person calling those vendors, the person managing those capital projects, it's the same people that actually put those numbers in that budget, so they know they have to be accountable when they start doing the work. It's not about like just like, oh, I don't know how to fix this stove, I'm just going to replace it, right? No, now you said on your budget that you're only going to replace 5 stoves. Then you have to think, you have to try to fix this machine. You got the entire buy-in of the entire team. That's one point that's what reasons I like centralization. Another one is because you get more oversight from your regional maintenance managers to your maintenance supervisors, because if these persons are able to see, when you have time employees, right, and then you have people working on calls, a technician is reporting to a property manager and tell like, yeah, I came on Saturday, I replaced a garbage disposal, and I have 5 hours of on call. Well, a manager most of the time most probably will say, okay, approve, right? But if someone tells you, Adrian, like, oh, I 5 hours to replace a garbage disposal, you will start asking why, like what the questions, right? Like, what happened? Like, the pipe broke, it was clogged, because you know how the job is done. So when you have the oversight of maintenance, overseeing maintenance, it's just a clear and direct path of understanding on both sides. Like the maintenance guy understand what the regional is looking because he's a maintenance person, and then the regional understand the maintenance supervisor, maintenance technician, because he's a maintenance person as well. So that's like for sure, right? I know there's a big debate, and we can spend probably the rest of the time just talking on centralization. Why yes, why not? But I find that on Horning that we're trying to work towards that area. We're not there yet, though. On my organizations, we're not yet on centralization, but we're working towards that area. Now, a hybrid, I will tell you, for me, it's what works so far the best. A hybrid between, like, all system and centralization, like what things yes, what things no. But I think it's important to realize and understand that we have to get outside of the box on property management as well. Like, things are changing, and we cannot keep managing properties the same way we used to manage them 40, 50, 60 years ago. We have to change.
In your centralization model, Fredy, is one technician, or like are the technicians assigned to more than one site?
Sometimes yes, sometimes they are, yes, and but it's because of proximity and an amount of units. We still have maintenance supervisors or maintenance technicians, managing another site, but it's just because of proximity, not because of resources, right? If a site is 300, apartments, right? And then there's another site very close by, and it's another 150. Oh, I don't want to hire someone for this. I'm just going to use this same team to oversee this project. That for me can become a failure, because then they won't be able to manage none of them because they're already overworked. But especially if it is not a new property, if it is all property, right? And a lot of preventive maintenance and a lot of work order tickets generated, so that wouldn't work. What we apply is more what's the condition, and if there is a proximity, I will probably, and I only need one technician here, and I have three here. I like to rotate their on call services. Why? Because I don't want people to be on call 24/7 for the rest of their life, right? Like, I don't like that. I don't like that model. It's not great that you always have to be with your phone when, they're gonna call me, and you're at dinner with your family, but you have to be with your phone every day. That's tired. You get tired about that. So that's why on call I rotate them, just because of proximity, and that way they feel supported. And then at the same way, they learn other communities, sister communities that they're like 1 block away, 2 blocks away down the street. And we have a couple of those ones. We're very lucky with our portfolio. It was a very strategic thing that we did, and it's so far it's working good.
So basically, you're just doing the on call in a pool. Everything else
Yes.
is like property based.
Yes, sir.
And now a word from Sean Landsberg, co-founder, AppWork.
What are some things that differentiate Upwork from all the other maintenance workflow apps that are out there available?
For us, it was about creating a solution that solved their own problems. And in order to get to that end goal, we had to first create a maintenance management software, which is the foundation of our product, and it's the basic of our product. But our product is so much more than that. Our product was built, again, like I said before, about solving our problems. That includes, the data behind the technicians, right? All the data behind all the entire maintenance process, and how we display that data, how we capture that data, the data integrity component behind that, right? How we make sure that that data cannot be influenced by anybody within the organization. We also have the gamification component, right? How we take maintenance and turn that into a game, make it more motivating, more exciting, more engaging, which helps improve your maintenance efficiency, right? We're seeing technicians being able to complete more work orders in a day than they were able to before. They're more motivated than they were before. Their customer service is better, which obviously impacts resident retention and so much more.
When it comes to technology, Fredy, there are certain things that with the technology available nowadays, they could be automated. So then, humans don't have to do. I'd like to get your philosophy or take on, technology. How can we leverage technology to eliminate some of the tasks that could be like outsourced to technology to automation?
AI, it's amazing how fast is growing and how fast is learning a lot of things that we thought it would never be possible to do without a human. Now it's just amazing. And I think on the property management, and on the facilities right side, we will have to use it. For example, I'm not using it yet. I think I haven't had conversations enough or meet a software or a company that actually it's there, to help us out. But I learn and I read that there are some softwares out there like to on call services. For example, they troubleshoot. Like they call and they troubleshoot. I would love to explore a little bit more of that. Like to make sure that they explain to residents what steps you need to do in order so they don't have to call so much. That would be one thing. Another one as well, it's on preventive maintenance. Like something that a software. I'm not sure even if it already existed, but something that learn the needs of the reoccurring things that need to happen on your site, like not only like changing your filters, but something that happens to your site and needs to, and it actually tells you already what to do. I know, like we use like Leonardo, for example. So some of our softwares are Leonardo. We use Yardi. We use the reoccurring recorders. But I feel like with this technology revolution with AI right now, something will come out is going to change the way we do preventive maintenance. I'm not sure how yet, but I'm very excited to see what their next step are. But I'm very open, like on facilities. I will tell you, like I'm not scared. I'm actually very open and excited to see what will be those changes and how we can apply them on our properties to serve our residents better, to make the properties safer, to make them more good, to make it more curb appeal, to preserve our assets better. So I'm very excited, all those changes.
Where do you think that you will see the first effects of AI technology being implemented in multifamily facilities? Where would you see the first changes?
Probably I would say will be on those on-call services, redirecting or troubleshooting. If a resident call and you're like, oh, my kitchen, outlet is not working. Oh, how you check your GFCI? Oh, what's GFCI? Oh, do you see that little outlet with a green or red next to your faucet? Can you please press it? As somebody like kind of explaining those type of things over the phone. I think that might. I don't know. I think that already exists, if I'm not mistaken. So probably.
Everything that it's kind of like on your in your vision or on your wish list, it already exists. There's technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes way beyond that too. In other words, for example, you could set each technician profile and say, Jimmy's strengths are HVAC and electrical. There are systems that actually are setting up Jimmy to just get like HVAC and electrical tickets. And then each other technician, based on their strengths, they will get that type of work orders.
Mm.
Secondly, this would be done automatically by your work order management system versus like a service manager coming in the morning, printing all the work orders and say, Jimmy is great at this, here's your tickets, Jimmy. Like this would be like totally automated. And also there are systems that are actually, you could set up a minimum to say each technician should have a minimum of 3 tickets at any given time. When they get down to 3 and they're like completing 1 out of the 3, automatically the system will push a next one into their queue, so they won't be like sitting around saying, well, we just finished our tickets and there's nothing for us to do, which is amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It is.
As far as reporting and KPI, Fredy, what are KPIs that you track or you wish you could track, you wish you had the tools to track when it comes to maintenance team performances?
One of the things, in especially in residential, I know, for example, military housing is different, but on residential, I don't think we have a correct track of inventory in our maintenance shops. I think yes, there might be softwares out there that like we can use them and implement them, but I don't think we're there yet. And I talk to different peers, and I would love your opinion on that one as well. It's like on our maintenance shop, if we do an audit, at inventory of our maintenance shop, right? I don't know. I think that the percentage is very high. The majority of property management will fail. Those, if you if you or even if you have one, probably it's not accurate.
I'll be actually shocked to see any that pass.
Right.
I'll be
Yeah.
actually to see, and I'll love to see how they've done it. Like
Yes.
it's not sarcasm; it's like real curiosity here. So here's some thoughts on that. Since you asked, Amazon, the way they manage their warehouse inventory is based on a weight of the product. Let's just say that you have doorstops, right? They're pre-weighted and 0.02 ounces or whatever the weight is per door stopper. You have like 20 of them in a box. Well, they use like weight sensors that based on the total weight, it tells them exactly how many of those are in the box. And when you go and you pull one or two or 10 out of the box, the inventory automatically updates. So
Updates.
pull that and you put in an Amazon package to send to ship out, that automatically updates. The same thing, the same system could be implemented micro at a micro level in every maintenance shop. I don't see why that technology could not be like replicated at our maintenance shops, and that will actually automate the inventory part. And you set minimums, and when you pull out the part, and then once you do that, the inventory updates to a minimum or below minimum, the system is set to automatically order to replenish your orders. So you don't have to like manually do any work, look through the bins, write stuff on a board, write it all down. Like it automatically generates orders based on the minimums that you have set up. And also with AI cameras, what you could do, you could actually track like what technicians take out of the shop, and actually through face recognition and everything, you could hold them accountable. If someone takes like 2 jugs of freon and they only return with one, this could be like automatically managed. You don't have to have a person, a human, like actually managing that person, or like always have to worry about the inventory. This could be done automatically. Technology exists. It's
Yeah.
just we're just a little slow probably as industry to adopt, but I think it's just a matter of time. Like I'm hearing that Amazon already deploys like a multifamily division in some parts of the country, and they're actually starting to compete with the regular MRO vendors. And I think that if they really invest in the multifamily division, it won't be long until they're taking over everything, because the
Yeah.
current MRO suppliers they're not equipped to
Yeah.
compete with Amazon. They're not.
Yeah, no, no, you're absolutely right. And knowing that technology, I think like, like it's amazing. For sure, I think it can work. It will be, you will have to probably increase on those fee managed properties. You will have to probably increase, your fees because there's an expense. That will be one. And second, on the ones that you own, there's a lot out there properties that like their cash flow is just not good, especially on these times right now, and especially in a lot of cities. Washington D.C. is one of them. It's not a big business. It's struggling a lot.
What is your procurement side, Freddie, and what opportunities do you see?
Oh, big opportunities. Like we're working towards trying to have a better procurement plan. Like within the organization right now, but we have big opportunities. I feel like like we have always ways to growth and ways to save, right? Like we're very fortunate at owning, that our portfolio majority of them is owned, by Horning and managed by Horning. So we travel to level, up with vendors on savings, right? Because of like the amount of volume of business that we give. There have to be other ways that we can save in other type of difference. But I appreciate, like all the vendors that we're working with already. They've been very helpful. They've been, helping us out, like, meeting our budgets, meeting our deadlines. But there's still a lot way to go, especially, for us as an organization. And as I imagine, they are as well for other property management as well. Procurement, it goes unnoticed a lot of times on property management, and it's a lot of money out there that you can save on procurement. So yes, but I'm always happy, like to welcome to new ideas. I know when we talk, for example, you helped me out, like hitting me up with a couple of your peers, and they are already being conversations with them. There's a lot of different ways we can save, so we can invest back on on sites that are like good for our residents. Like that's what we want all the time. Our residents are our clientele, and we want them to be safe. We want them to enjoy a happy home, happy buildings, preserve our asset, curb appeal, all those type of things. So that's what we're always trying to save in different things, and procurement is one of them.
One of the things that I'm thinking of quite a bit lately, it's legacy. What do I leave behind? I want to ask you, in closing of our conversation, do you ever give it any thought? How would you like to be remembered when it's all said and done for you? What would you like your legacy to be?
Yeah, so no, 100% honest, I haven't had that thoughts lately. It's a very good way of thinking. Like it's a very good way of like trying to remember yourself. What do you want to be remembered in this world for, right? And I haven't been thinking out lately in that, but one of the things that I probably cross my mind right now is like, I think, like, for example, where I'm at right now, if I'm in a position right now where I'm needed all of the time, that if I go out on vacation and then I'm needed all of the time and my phone doesn't start, they're always calling me, and I cannot enjoy it. My job is, I'm not doing something good. Something is wrong with me. My purpose on my job right now, it's not working, that I need to fix, because I want to build facilities department that it's self-sustainable, that doesn't need me, right? Even if I put it together, even if I was the creator of it, I want to be remembered because of that program, or because the way it works. I'm not needed at all. I want, people knows what to do. I want to make sure I teach everybody ownership, that it's very hard, to find people that they have ownership. But that's I think what I will say right now. Like, I want to just make sure I create a facilities department that people know what they're hired for, what they're thinking, what their priority is, what they have to do, a system that works perfect. That if Fredy goes, or Fredy moves on, or Fredy, is in another industry, or Fredy moves back to Honduras, they will remember just one day, like, oh, why your department works very good? Oh, it was because this crazy guy from Honduras, he put it together. Yeah, I think something like that will be good.
Amazing having you on today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope to continue this down the road to get you back on. Any final thoughts for the audience?
Just like, I think for our fellows, peers from facilities department, if there is anybody, from maintenance technician, a porter, maintenance supervisor, or anyone, that I know, there's a lot of people watching your podcast. I just want to tell you, like, this is an amazing career. This is an amazing industry. And if you are, right now, looking at the podcast on your phone, and it happens to be there, and you're looking at it, and you're like cleaning your building, or you're doing painting on apartment, or you're doing turnover, it's just like, just try to be the best of yourself. Just be the best painter, just be the best cleaner, be the best maintenance technician, be the best maintenance supervisor. Be the best version of yourself all the time, not only at work, in your life, right? Be the best version of yourself, because the consequences of you being the best is that you're just gonna be better person, and you're just gonna go on a rise. People watch, and even if nobody tells you right now, people is watching, and you're gonna grow. There's more opportunities. I know where these are challenging times, and then it's not always easy, but just be the best version of yourself, and like, things are going to get better, and then I know we're going to be in a better position, and you're going to be in a better position in a couple of months, or in a couple of years. But be patient, and just keep being better.
Once again, thank you, Fredy. It's been great having you on, sir.
Oh, thank you, Eddie.
Everyone, thank you so much. This was another episode of Masters of Maintenance. I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Wanted to thank our sponsors from KAIROS and from Appwork for making this broadcast possible. See you all next time. Take care.